I'm running out of time before the NFL season starts, so I want to quickly try and get one last video out before it starts. Now, whether or not I can record and edit this whole video before Thursday night is questionable with my habit of procrastinating these videos. But anyways, as you can probably figure out, I'm going to be ranking every team on a tier list based on what I think their final record will be. I could go through every single team's schedule and decide what games they'll win or lose, but that doesn't sound very fun. I'm not really going to be factoring that in because I'm too lazy. So with that said, I'm going in alphabetical order once again, starting with the Arizona Cardinals. With Marvin Harrison Jr. and a healthy Kyler Murray, I think they can actually put up points, although maybe not more than they allow. But I don't think they're a bottom feeder in the league. I think their offense can take them to 6 or 7 wins. Now for the Falcons. It's a little bit hard to avoid overhyping them. They really feel like one of those teams that was a quarterback away, but I was saying that about the Broncos before they acquired Russell Wilson, so I'm a little reluctant to do that again. I'll just say they'll go 10-7 or 11-6. The Ravens, I expect to get just a tad worse than they were last year, which is still going to be extremely good. If I had to guess, I would say they go 13-4, so I'm going to put them right up here. It's hard for me to really gauge the Bills because I expect them to be worse based on how their offseason went, but I don't know how much worse. It's hard for me to imagine a team with Josh Allen at quarterback being bad, and it seems like everybody else is still really high on the Bills, even though I'm pretty low on them. It makes me wonder if I'm not giving them enough credit. I'm just going to say 10-7 seems right. The Panthers, I expect improvement, but improvement from 2 wins isn't saying a lot. I still think they're going to be one of the worst teams in the league, but maybe some steps in the right direction. Still putting them at the bottom tier though. The Bears' entire season pretty much relies on whether or not Caleb Williams lives up to the hype. I feel like if Caleb Williams is good, I think the Bears, probably not a playoff contender, but an average team. And I do expect Caleb Williams to be good. So I'll say 8-9 probably fits the best. The Bengals are a team that I'm a lot higher on than I feel like other people are. I feel like with a healthy Joe Burrow, I don't really see any reason why they can't return to 2022 form. The Bengals actually are a team where I've looked at their schedule and thought about what games I expect them to win or lose, and I had them going 12-5. So that's where I'm going to put them. Now, evaluating the Browns is really tricky because I don't think Deshaun Watson is good, but the Browns finished 11-6 last year without good quarterback play. So even if Watson is average or even a slightly below average, I think that's improvement at quarterback. For some reason, the Browns are an afterthought to me. Maybe it's because there's so many teams in the AFC that are just around average. 9-8 seems too low. I'll say 10-7, although I really don't know what to expect from the Browns. I don't think there's a lot to say with the Cowboys. Obviously, they're gonna be good in the regular season, maybe even 13-4. But just because they're this high on my tier list doesn't mean I think they're gonna do jack shit in the playoffs. The Broncos interest me. I feel like if Bo Nix is good, they could be around average. Am I ready to say that Bo Nix is going to be good though? No. I'm just going to assume the Broncos are around 6-11 or 7-10. Although I feel like they'll be better than the Cardinals. I'm putting the Lions all the way up here. I think they go 14-3 this season. Kind of like the Bengals, the Lions are another team where I did glance at their schedule, and it didn't really seem like they have a hard schedule. Even assuming that they lose an upset to the Bears, I still had them going 14-3. There weren't really many teams I had them losing to. I also had them splitting with the Packers. I don't know who else I thought they'd lose to, but I think they are Super Bowl contenders in the NFC. The Packers are a tough team to project because they could honestly be all the way up here too, or they could be all the way down here. Or they could be all the way down here if Jordan Love was a fluke, but I don't think that's the case. I'm just going to go ahead and put the Packers right about here. I'm going to say 12-5. They could easily finish better than that, but they could also easily finish worse than that. Now the Texans are kind of in an awkward spot where I can't decide if I think they'll be 11-6 or 12-5. But I think the Texans are a really good team. I think they made good improvements this offseason. If CJ Stroud takes another step, I think they could easily go 12-5 or maybe even better. Now the Colts. A lot of people have the Colts as their sleeper team. And it's pretty easy to see why. If Anthony Richardson is good, which is a big if, the potential of this team is sky high. My gut tells me that people are overhyping the Colts. I'm going to say the Colts finish around average. Maybe better than the Bears. I'm not going to get crazy expectations for the Colts just yet. The Jaguars are a lot like the Browns in the sense that I have noticed the fact that I'm kind of sleeping on them. After the collapse they had last year, it's easy to write them off. Really, this is a team that's going to go as far as Trevor Lawrence takes them. And I don't know if I really believe in him that much. I don't even know if they're better than the Colts. I think they go 9-8. I'll put them below the Colts. I think they both finish 9-8. The Chiefs are kind of tough to rank because they just won the Super Bowl. It's easy to forget that they only went 11-6 last year. But they did get better this offseason, especially in the receiving core. I honestly do think they're the best team in the league. So I am going to put them at 14-3. Now for the Raiders. As soon as Josh McDaniels was fired last year, they were actually pretty competitive, especially on defense. But at the end of the day, how much do I trust Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell? I don't know if they can really elevate this team that high. My guess is that they're going to be a pain to play against, but they're probably only going to finish 7-10. I really don't know what to think of the Chargers, because the Chargers never have a good defense, and I don't expect that to change overnight. And then on the offensive side of the ball, they had to get rid of Keenan Allen and Mike Williams. So who does Justin Herbert even have to throw the ball to? I'm pretty much just lumping all the AFC West teams together down here as 7-10. The Rams are a team that I'm not crazy high on. They're kind of awkwardly between 9-8 and 10-7, where 9-8 seems too low, 10-7 seems too high. I am ultimately going to put them at 10-7, but I don't think they're going to be super intimidating. The Dolphins, I think, are going to be more or less the same as they were last year. If I'm being honest, they're my pick to win the AFC East this year, although that could very easily age poorly. But considering it took a collapse at the end of the year and a 5-game win streak from the Bills just to barely not win the division, I feel like it's not a hot take to say that the AFC East is the Dolphins' division to lose. The Vikings are in an awkward spot where I feel like the roster isn't bad enough for them to be a dumpster fire, but I mean, what am I supposed to expect from them if they have Sam Darnold at quarterback? I think the Vikings roster is too good to be truly awful. I'm going to say they go like 6-11. The Patriots, on the other hand, I have close to zero faith in. I considered making a wide receiver tier list, and the one that I found, the Patriots were the only team that didn't even have a receiver on that tier list, and I think that says it all. I think their offense is abysmal, and I would be surprised if their defense doesn't get worse because they just got rid of Matthew Judon. I think they're going to be one of the worst teams in the league. I don't have much to say about the Saints. The Saints and being average go together like peanut butter and jelly. And that's just the Derek Carr experience. The Giants are a team that I feel like I'm very low on, maybe even unfairly low, especially considering I do think they made improvements this offseason, most notably Malik Neighbors and Brian Burns. But I just cannot trust a team that has Daniel Jones at quarterback. You could say he had a good 2022 season. I think of it more like Brian Dable tried to put as little responsibility in Daniel Jones' hands as possible so he didn't fuck it up. I just think they're really bad. I'm going to put them in the bottom tier. The Jets are another team that I feel like I'm a lot lower on than most people. I see a lot of people picking the Jets to make the playoffs, and I honestly just don't see it. Maybe they'll make me eat my words, but it's the Jets. Do I really have to say much else? I mean, knowing the Jets, I wouldn't be surprised if Aaron Rodgers gets hurt again. I'm almost expecting it at this point. But assuming Rodgers does stay healthy, 9-8 does feel too low for them. I'll put them in 10-7, but I'm not expecting a lot from them. The Eagles had a monumental collapse last year to an almost comical extent. Well, not almost. It was comical. But I expect them to bounce back and return to form. I have them going 12-5. I'm going to put them above the Texans even. Now the Steelers are just one of those teams that's boring as hell and nobody cares about them, and they somehow sneak into the playoffs at the end of the year. Considering they just got an upgrade at quarterback, whether you think Russell Wilson and Justin Fields are good, doesn't really matter here. It wouldn't have taken a lot to be an upgrade. I think the Steelers are set up to have another slightly above average season that nobody cares about. I'm going to put them above the Browns. The 49ers, I'm going to put in the top tier. I do think the Lions and 49ers are really close. It's hard to say which one's better. But I do feel like the 49ers Super Bowl contending window is slowly closing. A lot of their key players are aging, but they're still easily one of the best teams in the league. The Seahawks, I think, are like a carbon copy of the Rams. Maybe not in terms of how similar they are, but just in the fact that I could not even throw a dart at a wall to try and decide which team is better. They're exactly the same in my eyes. Just because the Seahawks always underachieve relative to how good they should be, I'll say the Rams are a hair over them. But who knows, maybe the Seahawks stop underachieving under Mike McDonald. I think the 7th seed in the NFC comes down to the Rams and Seahawks, and then the Buccaneers are just behind those two. I think I'll even put them above the Colts and Jaguars, but I just don't see them getting that last playoff spot. The Titans are a team that I have no idea what to expect. I don't expect them to be good at all. I just don't pay attention to them. I genuinely don't know much about the Titans other than that I don't think they're very good. Do I think they're one of the worst teams in the league? No. But I don't have much confidence in them. I'm just going to say they go like 6-11. I'll put them above the Vikings. And finally, we have the Commanders. I really don't think the Commanders are a good football team. And unless Jaden Daniels is really good, like good enough to carry them, I don't see them winning more than 5 games. I think they're easily the best team down here, but I just don't see them being at the same level as all these teams I put up here at 6 or 7 wins. But anyways, there's my tier list. Maybe I'm sleeping on some teams, maybe I think too highly of some teams. I'm just kidding, obviously I'm right about everything, and I'm sure everyone agrees with everything I said.